Okay, so we're recording Curtis Draws a Thing.
Do 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 do.
Yes, you shall provide our theme song.
Accompaniment, yes.
So I'm Curtis. I drews the thing. This is my co-host, Tiffany.
Hello.
She draws other things in her own time.
It's true.
And then doesn't share them with the internet, so you can never see it.
Also, sort of true.
Kind of true. She does have a blog, but I'm not going to share the location of that blog with you. You're just going to have to find it on your own. So search for Tiffany Art. For sure, there's only the one of those, and so you'll be able to find it easily. Okie doke. So this is the Kickoff comic that I've been working on. And it actually got so big and so long that I ended up making it into 2 comics, one of which I haven't finished inking yet. So someday you'll get to see the entire comic. Someday. But you can at least read the joke now.
You're channeling your inner geek. You took a Harry Potter reference for this one? Sorting Hat?
It's the first Harry Potter reference I've ever made.
Well, it's a good one.
And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Harry Potter, but I did think that having done a reorg, the Sorting Hat would have felt more like the Sorting Hat feels very arbitrary.
Yes.
But no more or less arbitrary than just having your boss say, like, you're on team product now. Because I mean, there were rationales for my being on team product, which is that I don't want to be on team cloud, and those are the only teams. But it was still felt like a sort of random thing that came from the sky, and I think it would have benefited from a little more ceremony in the form of a talking hat that told me what team I was going to be on.
It really takes the edge off of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I feel like we spent a lot of money on a guest speaker, but we could have spent a lot of money on is a talking hat. I mean, I feel like rigging something like that up with some Arduinos, like you have this microphone in the hat, and you can talk into the hat microphone, and maybe it'll like vibrate a little bit. Seems really easy to make in retrospect. You could build a sorting hat for the team. And, you know, the team would enjoy building it, so if you're out there and you're an engineer, build me a sorting hat. And if you're out there and you're an engineer who wants to be paid for building me a sorting hat, no.
Curtis is a man who thinks whimsy is missing from kickoffs and reorgs.
I think whimsy is missing from most technical products.
Lack of whimsy.
It's the key ingredient. And honestly, when I'm building my own products, I always make sure to include a small amount of whimsy.
Whimsy. But not the cow one you were telling me about.
Cowsay?
Cowsay.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you a story about Ansible, the entire internet. Ansible is a product that allows you to automatically provision servers from Python. It's like Chef or Puppet. And if you happen to have the Cowsay program installed when you are installing Ansible, or just if Ansible detects the presence of Cowsay, a program that takes every piece of output and rephrases it as an ASCII art cow saying the thing that you have typed in, then Ansible will route all of its output through Cowsay, thus delivering you a professional solution for server maintenance that just is 100% cow delivered, which I was confused about at first. I mean, while I understand the value of whimsy in the workplace, I didn't know why it was all coming out as cow, because I didn't remember that I had installed Cowsay, and I never knew that Ansible defaulted to using Cowsay if it could find it on a server.
Strange.
But that being said, that wasn't a frustrating bug report. That was sort of a delightful bug report where it was like, hey, is it supposed to be doing this cow thing? Because it's awesome that it's doing this cow thing. Eventually, I had to turn the cow behavior off because it's hard to share output with coworkers that's broken when it's in cow format.
It's true. It could get tedious.
I was happy that was a default, though.
You need to have a clear way to toggle it off, though.
Yeah. You essentially just need to know, like, what's happening, because I'd forgotten that I'd installed Cowsay. I'd forgotten that Cowsay was even a program, so I just had to type into Google, like, why is my Ansible output cows?
And somebody had already asked that question before you.
Yes, someone was there before me, knowing the reason, the terrible, terrible truth behind Ansible and cows. So, I actually ended up cutting a big chunk of this comic into its own second comic, thanks to some input from Tiffany, which was valuable input because the sorting hat joke sort of stood all on its own, and it doesn't need to have all this extra stuff strapped onto it, so we separated it out into its own joke. And then I have this whole second joke about the other things that were said at this imaginary kickoff meeting, which bears no resemblance whatsoever to like many recent kickoff meetings I've been to, of course.
Disclaimer.
This is a fictitious universe that I captain here, and all
Hyperbolic.
Any resemblance to people, real or imaginary, is entirely
completely
coincidental.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Words.
Yes, I'm excellent at running these podcasts.
You've stalled also on your drawing. You're like,
Yeah, I have. I'm just staring at that window.
There you go. We're probably talking or something. A commercial happens.
Sometimes I don't catch those in editing. Usually, because I go through these beforehand and cut out the Sometimes I'll go to the bathroom for 3 minutes.
Sure.
Or sometimes I'll just go get a sub, and then it just sits there for 15 minutes at a time, and nobody wants to watch Curtis not there at the computer while he's eating
Curtis
a sub.
draws a thing, not Curtis does not draw a
Curtis
thing.
eats. I mean, I could totally put up a Curtis eats a submarine sandwich. That could be its own thing.
Yeah.
I feel like we would get less buy-in. I don't know. We don't
It'd
have a
be a
lot of
different
buy-in already,
demographic.
but maybe some people would want to watch me eat a sandwich, but I'm not sure if I'd want to be that kind of star. Like, if I had 1 million viewers of Curtis eats a sub, what do you do then? Do you make more Curtis eats a sub?
Take Subway endorsements and
but it doesn't feel like a satisfying existence. I don't want to be Curtis eats a sub forever.
I see.
I don't want that to be what people think about.
I didn't realize that was the pressure on you.
Yeah, that's the whole reason that I do this whole comic thing, is to avoid
having to eat a sub for money.
Sub online for money. And
I mean, when I think of the worst possible future, it's having to eat sandwiches for monetary gain.
See, you understand.
Yeah.
And based on the number of sandwiches I've been paid to eat, which is 0, I think I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
My life is on track.
Yes. Clearly.
So.
You're shuffling everybody around.
Yeah, I actually, because we decided that this second thing should be its own joke, and then we sort of riffed about what the joke could be, I think you decided, you suggested like some sort of betting pool or some sort of, people were predicting what the CEO was saying, and then excited when he said all the things that they had suggested. So I thought I would roll with that. But then I needed to shuffle things around a little bit. Which there's a bet that I planned out for this where he's gonna make $500, and then while I was watching the footage of me putting the art together, I was starting to think of okay, well, if it's $50. If it's a $500 earning pool, then everyone must have put in $50, and I just feel like that's too much for everyone to have put in. Did the math in my head, and it's like, who would jump into a $50 betting pool about the kickoff meeting? It just seems like too much money.
Yeah.
So I might need to revise that. I think maybe a $100 prize would be more appropriate, because that's 10 people.
Or take them out to lunch. Yeah.
Yeah, free lunch. Maybe the prize doesn't need to be specified. I mean, he's holding a card that says Cube Drone $500, which is ridiculous, because, I mean, who holds a note that says your name and the amount of money that you'll win? It's there for the sake of explaining the joke, but it's not an actual piece of paper that anyone could reasonably hold on to. And I'm not really sure how to structure that in a way where it's really clear what the bet is, and that he's going to win it, except that way, but it doesn't feel like the right way to structure that in terms of a piece of paper that someone would actually be looking at. Why would he even have paper? He's a software developer. It would be
It's just too much energy to program a kickoff bingo app.
I mean, honestly, actually, that'd be kind of funny if it was Milo's custom betting app, that might be a good way to do it, just because, I mean, that would explain why it's so clear about everything. I mean, it's the sort of thing where an app developer would just, slap in all of the... especially Milo. Milo is not a front-end developer, so you just put all the information front and center. And it would be called Milo's betting app, or something similarly Spartan. Betting with Milo. But, so, I'll have to consider that when I actually ink that side of the comic, to go back and make it clear that that's happening in some sort of Milo betting app space.
It's an organic process.
It's a very organic process. I mean, I sat down with this whole comic. I sat down and I was just sort of staring at a blank screen, and I think my notes were just like things a CEO would say. And everything else sort of came up organically based on that concept of CEOs. I tried drawing his hand several times. Then I gave up. I tried again from scratch. You can do it. You can do it. Cheer myself on. Go, Curtis. Draw that hand.
I always liked the suit guy.
his weirdly shaped body. Giant cylinder. I try to make him the only character in the entire Cube Drone universe that's not very likable. He's also the only one with any color. He's Caucasian. Everyone else is like without any sort of color, but the CEO is Caucasian because of course.
Because why wouldn't he be?
Exactly.
The universe has dictated this is a thing.
Which, I mean, feels a little cynical, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm not really okay with it. That's why, thus the cynicism.
Yeah.
Maybe someday it'll be me that's the beneficiary of that injustice, and then I will complain less.
Well, yeah, sure.
This hat. I like this hat. We're actually getting close to the end of this podcast just because I improved my coloring skills dramatically. So,
that is handy.
Yeah, it means I have to do less podcasting because, I mean, the coloring is much, much faster to get through. I suppose I could slow everything else down, but I'm not going to do that. But yeah, it's thanks to Manga Studio's awesome feature, which allows you to color as if all of the other layers were on your current layer.
Right.
But they're not on your current layer, so you don't have to worry about stuff like running over the other colors. And so it can make the coloring really, really easy. I cut out the text, too, because it causes weird fragments to appear in the color, because it's just so complicated and detailed. And on top of that, you get, like, if there's an O, the space inside the O doesn't get colored. So you have to go over the text with it.
To be on a different layer.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure seems like... Do you feel like you've gotten faster?
I feel like I've gotten faster. I mean, better is a much more general term, but I definitely feel like I can crack one of these out in about an hour and a half now. But I'm spending that time on making like longer comics, so it ends up being sort of a wash. Although, I mean, it's fun to have comics that have a little more space to breathe. You can tell a better joke if you have more space sometimes. And so doing a 6-panel comic is something I'd like to do more of as I go forward. I think I did my first 6-panel comic in a long time. I'm not even sure if I've ever done a 6-panel comic before, like last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. But yeah, the coloring's almost done. I just cracked it out while I was talking about panel numbers.
Nice.
And and so I think I've done long comics. I've done like 9 and 12, 15 panel comics, although coloring those has been a nightmare, and I think I've only ever colored like 1 or 2 of those because they're such a pain in the butt.
Right.
But that was before I had my
Patreon
new
subscribers.
coloring techniques.
Right.
Oh, the Patreon ones. I'm not going to color those ever because those are huge, and like a lot of times they're so sketchy that the automatic coloring won't work on them.
Yeah.
Which means you just literally have to go in with a like proper brush behind the layer.
You did some portraits in color, right?
I did, but those were colored using more traditional and painstaking color techniques, where I would just put a layer behind the existing layer and paint in the color with a brush.
Right.
So, it looks good when you do it that way, and despite the fact that the time isn't saved, I thought that I managed to get some good portraiture out of that. But we've reached the end of the podcast, so
it's true.
Now we can stop talking.
Well, thank God.
I know, it's been almost 15 minutes.
A whole 15 minutes.
Which is way too long. And now we don't even have a thing to show, so it's just going to be a picture of my butt.
Just the void.
Or black, I guess.
Yeah.
Whichever one you'd prefer, Internet.
Yeah.
I mean, I could also put up the final comic.
That too.
I feel like that's a better option than any of the things that I've proposed so far.
It's true.
Just the mechanics.
The only thing you proposed so far was your butt. So.
And nothing. My butt, nothing.
I proposed nothing.
Oh, it's true. Out of all of the things that I've proposed, my butt or the completed comic, I think the completed comic is probably the best thing I can put up here.
You get there eventually.
It's true. But, I mean...
But not before meandering into butts.
All this being said, I still haven't made my decision, so...
Fair enough.
So if you're looking at a picture of a butt right now, Internet, you know how this ended.